You have $1,000 sitting in your bank account. Maybe you've been saving it for months, and now you're finally ready to invest it. So you search, should I put my first $1,000 into a Roth IRA or a 401k? And almost immediately, you hear the same advice. Always get the employer match first. Usually that's good advice. But there's one number inside your 401k plan that most beginners never check. It's called vesting, and it tells you how much of your employer's free money you actually get to keep if you leave that job. Here's the important distinction. The money you contribute to your own 401k is yours. Employer contributions can be subject to a vesting schedule, so I'm not here to tell you to ignore the match. I'm here to show you how to understand it. And then there's the bigger question. Should your first dollar go into a 401k, your first $200, your entire $1,000, or should some of it go somewhere else first? I'm going to walk you through exactly what I'd consider, step by step, using the actual 2026 rules, not recycled advice from a 5-year-old blog post. By the end, you'll know what to check, where the money should go, and what to do after that first $1,000. No complicated spreadsheet required. Let's start with why this decision feels so paralyzing. Because I don't think you're actually afraid of investing. You're afraid of making an irreversible mistake. You've probably heard start investing early so many times that the phrase barely means anything anymore. Start early, invest consistently, buy index funds, save for retirement. Everybody says it, almost nobody explains what it actually looks like when you're sitting in front of your computer with $1,000 and asking, okay, where exactly do I put this? Do I log into my employer's 401k? Do I open a Roth IRA? Do I buy stocks? Do I buy an index fund? What if the market crashes? What if I choose the wrong account? And then you hear words like tax advantaged, marginal tax rate, vesting, and contribution limit. Your brain immediately says, maybe I'll figure this out next month. And that is how 6 months becomes a year. The money stays in checking. Nothing happens, and ironically, the biggest mistake isn't choosing a Roth IRA instead of a 401k. It's waiting so long to make a decision that you never start. Now, there's something important I want to add before we even talk about retirement accounts. Because if this $1,000 is literally all the cash you have, you shouldn't automatically invest every dollar just because a finance video told you to if you have high-interest credit card debt. That deserves serious attention. And if you have absolutely no emergency cash, keeping at least some money accessible can be more important than aggressively investing every dollar. Because imagine investing your entire $1,000 today, and then your car breaks down next week, or your hours get cut, or you suddenly have a medical bill. You may end up selling investments at exactly the wrong time, just to pay for something that could have been handled with cash. So your first $1,000 isn't just an investing question. It's a financial foundation question. And once you've dealt with the basics, especially expensive debt and having at least some cash buffer, that's when the retirement account decision becomes much easier. Because now you're not asking, how do I become rich from $1,000? You're asking, how do I use this $1,000 to start a system that keeps building wealth for years? That's a completely different question. A 401k is a retirement account offered through your employer. A Roth IRA is a retirement account you typically open through a brokerage. The biggest difference is when the money is taxed. For a traditional 401k, contributions are not included in your taxable income today. Imagine you earn $60,000. You contribute part of your pay to a traditional 401k. You're essentially saying, I'll deal with the tax on this money later. The money goes into the account. It gets invested. And decades from now, when you take money out in retirement, those withdrawals are generally taxable as ordinary income. Think of it like a tax bill that's been pushed into the future. You get the tax benefit today. You generally pay the income tax later. With a Roth IRA, you contribute money you've already paid taxes on. There's no federal income tax deduction for the Roth contribution itself, but if you follow the rules for a qualified withdrawal later, your Roth IRA withdrawals can be tax-free. That includes the investment growth. So you can think of it this way: traditional 401 tax break now, right arrow taxes later. Roth era taxes now, right arrow potentially tax-free qualified withdrawals later. And this is where people make the comparison too simple. They ask which one is better. That's not really the right question. The better question is which tax treatment makes more sense for me. If you're early in your career and currently in a relatively low tax bracket, paying taxes now through a Roth can be especially attractive. But if you're earning a high income today and getting a valuable tax deduction from a traditional 401, that can make the traditional 401 much more attractive. Your company might say, we'll match part of what you contribute. That can be extremely valuable. For example, imagine your employer contributes 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to a certain percentage of your salary. That employer contribution is additional compensation. It's one of the few places where your employer can literally add money to your retirement account because you're saving for retirement. But there's a detail you need to understand. Your own 401k contributions are yours. You're 100% vested in the money you contribute, along with the associated investment gains or losses. But employer contributions can be different. Some employers require you to stay with the company for a certain amount of time before you fully own those employer contributions. That's vesting. And this is where the internet sometimes oversimplifies the advice. You'll hear always get the full match. And in many situations, yes, capturing a valuable employer match can be one of the best financial moves available. But you should understand what happens to that match if you leave the company. Let's say your employer contributes $1,000 to your 401k this year. Your account might show that $1,000, but if you're only partially vested, you might not be entitled to keep the entire employer contribution if you leave. Depending on the plan, you could become fully vested immediately, gradually over time, or under a cliff schedule. For example, the federal rules allow certain employer matching contributions to use schedules such as immediate vesting, a 3-year cliff, or a graduated schedule. The exact rules depend on your plan. That's why I don't want you to hear vesting means don't take the match. That's the wrong lesson. The lesson is take the match seriously and understand the rules attached to it, because if you're planning to leave your job in 6 months, the value of that employer contribution can be very different from what it would be if you stayed long enough to become fully vested. And this is why your first step shouldn't be which account should I open. Your first step should be what does my employer's plan actually offer? Go find your 401k plan information. Look for 2 things. Number 1, what is the employer match? And number 2, what is the vesting schedule for employer contributions? Your summary plan description or plan documents should tell you. 10 minutes of research can potentially save you from making a much bigger mistake. Now let's talk about another number people hear and immediately panic about: contribution limits. For 2026, the employee contribution limit for a 401k is $24,500. For an IRA, including a Roth IRA, the annual contribution limit is $7,500 if you're under 50, with a higher catch-up amount for older investors. These are limits, not targets. If you're starting with $1,000, you don't need to worry about maxing out anything. You're nowhere near the ceiling. You're just getting started. There are also income rules for Roth IRA contributions. For 2026, the Roth IRA contribution phase-out range is $153,000 to $168,000 for single and head of household filers, and $242,000 to $252,000 for married couples filing jointly. So if you're a typical beginner with your first $1,000, those limits probably aren't the thing stopping you. The bigger question is, where should this particular $1,000 go? And now we can finally build the sequence. Your first $1,000 isn't necessarily a choice between a 401k and a Roth IRA. It's a sequence of decisions. So let's walk through it. Step 1, check your financial foundation before investing every dollar. Ask, do I have high interest debt? Do I have at least some emergency cash? If the answer is no to both, don't blindly throw your entire $1,000 into retirement investments. Your financial foundation matters. If you have expensive credit card debt, paying that down can be a very high priority use of cash. If you have no emergency savings at all, you may want to keep part of the money accessible. The goal isn't to win the retirement account optimization game while losing the rest of your financial life. Now, assuming your basic financial foundation is reasonably under control, move to Step 2. Step 2, check your 401k match. Go to your employer's 401k website. Find the match. Maybe your employer matches 100% of the first 3% you contribute. Maybe it's 50% of the first 6%. Maybe it's different. Maybe there is no match at all. Don't guess. Check the actual plan. Then check vesting. If the employer match is valuable and you expect to stay long enough for the vesting rules to make sense for you, contributing enough to capture the full match can be extremely compelling. And remember, your own contributions are yours. The vesting issue we're talking about primarily concerns employer contributions. So if your employer offers a strong match, don't let the word vesting scare you away from the entire 401k. Understand it. Then make the decision. Step 3, open the Roth IRA. IFIT makes sense once you've captured the employer match you're targeting. The next dollars may make sense in a Roth IRA. Why? First, you get the Roth tax treatment. You're paying taxes on the money now, and qualified withdrawals later can be tax-free. Second, you generally get a much broader investment menu than you might have inside your employer's 401k. Your 401k gives you the investment options selected by the plan. A Roth IRA gives you access to a much broader range of investments through the brokerage. And there's another important point here. A Roth IRA can stay with you. You don't have to change your Roth IRA every time you change jobs. Your employer changes, your 401k situation may change. Your Roth IRA can continue existing independently. Step 4, don't confuse the account with the investment. This is one of the biggest beginner mistakes. You open a Roth IRA, you transfer $1,000 into it, and then you log out thinking I'm invested. Maybe you're not, because a Roth IRA is the account. The investment is what you buy inside that account. Think of it like a bucket. The Roth IRA is the bucket. The index fund is what's inside the bucket. If you deposit $1,000 into the Roth IRA and leave it sitting in cash, you haven't completed the investing decision. You have opened the container. Now you need to decide what goes inside it. For a beginner, one straightforward approach is a low-cost, broadly diversified index fund, such as a fund that tracks the total U.S. stock market or the S&P 500. You're not trying to guess which individual company will explode next year. You're buying a diversified collection of companies. The goal isn't excitement, it's participation. Step 5, automate the next dollar. This might actually be the most important step, because $1,000 isn't going to transform your financial life by itself. The habit that comes after it can. Set up an automatic contribution. Maybe it's $50 a month. Maybe it's $100. Maybe it's $25. The exact number matters less than whether you can actually sustain it. Because here's the psychological difference. The first $1,000 feels like a huge decision. The next $50 can become routine, and routine is powerful. You don't want to spend every month asking, should I invest this month? You want the money to move automatically before you have a chance to spend it. That's how the first $1,000 becomes the first $2,000, then $5,000, then $10,000, and eventually something much larger. Your first $1,000 isn't a test. There isn't a magical button where you either become financially smart or ruin your future forever. You can adjust your contribution percentage, investment allocation, savings rate, job, and strategy as your financial situation changes. Make your goal, I need to start a financial system I can keep running. Today, take 10 minutes. Log into your 401k, find the employer match, find the vesting schedule, then ask yourself 3 questions. Do I have high interest debt? Do I have enough emergency cash? And if those are under control, where should your next retirement dollar go? Maybe that's your 401k, maybe it's a Roth IRA, maybe it's a combination of both. The point is that now you're making the decision intentionally instead of guessing. Once that first $1,000 is working, don't stop there. Automate the next contribution. Because the first $1,000 doesn't build the wealth. The system you build after the first $1,000 does. If this video helped you understand the difference between a 401k, a Roth IRA, and the employer match without drowning you in financial jargon, hit like and subscribe to Casey Wealth Wise. And tell me in the comments, what does your employer's 401k match? 3%, 5%, 6%, or nothing? Check your plan, drop the number below, and let's see what everyone is working with.